Dragon Ball Super episode 116 is now officially in the history books as we begin to make our way forward into Dragon Ball Super episode 117, and joining me here today to discuss our thoughts and predictions for next week's episode is my good friend Bubbles, as we are going to be diving more in depth with the overall focus of Ribrianne having to fight the androids, which again, I'm a little iffy on because I still can't even begin to fathom the idea that Ribrianne has not only outlasted Hit during the tournament, but also outlasted Kefla as well. So Bubbles, welcome back on the channel. I wanted to get your initial thoughts going into next week's episode in the idea that Goku is finally burnt out, and we understand based on this episode and what we saw with, you know, Goku's interaction with Kefla, that he couldn't sustain the Ultra Instinct power for long, and now he's tired, he's burnt out, his stamina's depleted, and he needs some time to recover. And with that, we have Android 17 and 18 jumping in the way to help him. So I wanted to get your initial thoughts right now in what you think is going to happen going into next week's episode and pertains to Ribrianne and Rosie, because as we saw based on the preview, in case you guys haven't seen, it looks like Ribrianne is going to have another transformation. So I don't really know how to feel about that because she's, if anything, one of the most hated characters in Super thus far. So I wanted to get your initial thoughts on this. Do you think that Ribrianne is going to ring anybody out? Is she going to perhaps maybe ring out Android 18? As I don't think that 18 is going to last very long. However, there were certain people in my previous reviews commenting on the idea that perhaps maybe her brother is going to sacrifice himself to protect 18 or some concept of that nature. So initially going into 117, what are your overall thoughts and expectations? And for Ribrianne, how effective do you think she's going to be? And is she essentially going to get any ring outs going into next week's episode?
You know, Ribrianne has had a lot of hate, and personally I don't like her character. However, I think she's gonna be pretty cool in 117.
Oh, hell no. How?
I'm a little bit excited to see it because, you know, we actually haven't seen much of Ribrianne.
Good.
And you know, that's a good thing because a lot of people don't like her, but I feel like if we're giving other fighters a fair chance to see them, I don't really like Ribrianne, but it is only fair that we give her a shot as well. Maybe she actually is a powerful character and we're just not seeing it, because as you mentioned, she has outlasted 3 of our fighters that, you know, we thought were going to be some pretty good fighters. She basically
outlasted so many other characters. I can't even begin to fathom the idea that, you know, and it bothers me because everyone seems to hate Kefla. Everyone was giving Kale and Caulifla heat about, oh, how they weren't so sufficient and how they were stupid characters and they had no development and just the whole 9 yards of that. But if you look at it, if you look at the broader spectrum here, it looks like Ribrianne outlasted half of everyone's favorite characters. For example, the Trio de Danger, Hit, Kale and Caulifla, or Kefla, however it is you want to look at it, Frost for that matter. Do you see her being like a key player going into next week's episode? Because I think that for the most part, some of her teammates are going to get wrung out in terms of the other characters that aren't, you know, best suited to be alongside with Rosie and Ribrianne to fight the androids. I think that Goku's gonna possibly ring out, or if anything, if someone else might come in to ring out the other characters. I think Ribrianne and Rosie are gonna remain, but do you see Ribrianne or Rosie eliminating one of the androids, or vice versa in your opinion?
Well, just to start out, she has to be a key character. There's no way she's not a key character moving forward, and she's lasted this long and outlasted so many fighters that we know to be such good characters and such strong competitors. Like, there's no way she just outlasted so many characters just to be brushed to the side this next episode. So honestly, for the key character part, I do strongly believe she's going to be a key character, whether if it's just for this episode or moving forward in the tournament. I'm not really sure about that one, but she is definitely going to get a spotlight this episode. And it's kind of getting down to the point in the tournament where all of the characters left right now, all of the fighters left, are kind of what we want to call the best of the best at this point, or the ones that are just getting by.
Right.
So it's exciting now to finally get to see Ribrianne and Rosie actually getting into the fight with some other characters that, you know, we're used to seeing fighting, because now here comes the episodes where we actually get to sit back and say, Ribrianne, is she a character worth seeing in more episodes, or is she a character that's just here to barely get by? So honestly, that's the reason why when I said I'm a little bit excited to actually get to see Ribrianne fight, that's kind of what I'm meaning now, because it's to the point where we just want to keep seeing more characters get knocked out to get down to who's the best. And honestly, let's see where it goes with Ribrianne.
I really do think that she's going to, I mean, it's sad for me to say, but if you guys look at what's happening now, she is going to last relatively long. Looking at how we saw episode 116 and the events that transpired there, it's safe to assume now that Universe 6 is screwed. Universe 6 is desperately screwed. I think with the Namekians, just boiling it down to them, I really don't see them being key players here. I mean, I don't know. I mean, who knows? Maybe these Namekians are characters that perhaps everyone is overlooking just because they're Namekians. I would love to see them formulate some sort of a strategy to, you know, get on by, as I don't really feel as if Universe 6 is going to be next to go. For some reason, something tells me it's going to be Universe 2. Hopefully it is Universe 2. But going into next week's episode, do you see any of the androids ringing some of Universe 2 fighters out, or do you see the opposite happen in the idea that the Universe 2 fighters may potentially ring out at least one of the androids going into next week's episode? Because we understand that Universe 7 is going to begin to lose members going into episode 118. So do you think that Primal character is going to be 18, or do you see her brother 17 making the sacrifice in, you know, getting 18 out of, you know, a very desperate and dire situation and protecting her, and thus sacrificing himself to ring out whoever's left, perhaps maybe even Ribrianne for that matter?
Right. I'd love to see the brother-sister relationship and seeing, you know, a lot more of 17 and 18 together. But in all honesty, as far as one of the androids getting wrung out, I kind of do hope it's 18 to get wrung out over 17. And I say that because we do know currently that 18 was hurt, and she's not doing a terrible job, but she isn't doing the best with fending for herself at this point. So I honestly think that had you had to pick between the two androids, it's 17 I'd prefer to see stay. So in all honesty, I feel like with as many times so far that we've seen in the tournament and in Dragon Ball in general that we've seen 17 back up 18, I'd like to see 18 actually be the one to try to help out 17. And I think that would be an interesting way to see it play out, to see them up against the Universe 2 fighters and get to see actually 18 be the one to step in and get wrung out for 17. I think that would be interesting to see, rather than see it vice versa.
I mean, what's interesting is how we see Rosie and Ribrianne on the attack, because in the episode preview, Goku's down, he looks like he's recovering, and while the androids are protecting them, Ribrianne rushes 18, Rosie rushes 17, the other three close in on Goku. I really don't see Goku getting any sort of elimination. I can see Goku fending for himself. Is he going to do good? Probably not. I can definitely see Vegeta more or less involved, because if you remember, episode 117 is Vegeta trying to mimic Ultra Instinct. What's your take on that? Like, what's your take on Vegeta, you know, having to come to the realization that his training with Whis is what's being foreshadowed here in the fact that Goku has now learned, you know, the ability to of self-awareness and self-movement in allowing his body to think freely, and seeing what he may do in next week's episode. A lot of people are making the assumption and saying Vegeta's gonna get Ultra Instinct. No, he's gonna try, but according to Frieza, I don't know if you picked this up, according to Frieza, he stated at the end of the episode, it looks like Ultra Instinct is something to where the host or the person has to sustain, you know, massive physical damage, massive physical damage. And as according to Whis in episode 116, it looked like the damage or the amount of power that Kefla was emitting was equivalent to that of the Spirit Bomb where Goku had fought against Jiren with. So what's your take on Vegeta trying to learn Ultra Instinct? Is it foreshadowed that perhaps maybe he will learn it down the line? Do you think he might catch like a little glimmer of it and then perhaps just have it fade away? What's your take on Vegeta in next week's episode?
Well, I think he said it best himself. He said something somewhere along the lines of, if Goku could do it, I could do it as well. And honestly, I think that just about sums it up. I don't think he's going to be obtaining Ultra Instinct anytime soon. However, I know he's going to be working very hard towards trying to reach that state. And honestly, I think it'll be cool to get to see him try to change his fighting tactic, because I think now, when Goku achieved Ultra Instinct, he did it unknowingly, and he wasn't working towards achieving Ultra Instinct.
It just happened, yeah.
Exactly. It just happened. He was just trying to finish his battle. He was trying to finish strong. And now Vegeta has it in his mind, knowing that he went through the same training with Whis as Goku did, and knowing that he probably even trained harder than Goku did because he trained more.
Yeah, he actually had a few more months up there with Whis than Goku did.
Exactly. So it's that conscious thought of now, especially with the flashback that we got to see in 117, that, you know, he said this is what Whis has been training us up for, and if Goku was able to achieve it, I can too. But now the thing is I think that that's going to be his downfall, because he was able to piece it together, and in a way now he's going to be overthinking too much of just thinking of how he could make his body react. So I think it's going to be a little bit too forced, and he's not quite going to get towards Ultra Instinct because he's going to force it too much, and that's going to work against him, and it's going to make him try too hard and probably burn himself out even worse, because he's going to be trying to achieve a form or a technique that he knows he can get and that he's seen happen, but you're supposed to let it happen on its own, not try.
Right, because of massive physical damage, of course. I definitely feel going into next week's episode, we're gonna see a plethora of eliminations, and what I mean by that is I think that we're gonna witness a couple of Universe 2 fighters go. I think that inevitably one of our guys are probably gonna go, if anything, Android 18. It'll really shock me to death if by some chance 17 ends up going, which I'm not saying that he is, but I'm just saying, looking at it from like a broader spectrum, I think that having 17 more or less involved, because so far in this tournament, it's like just when you thought Hit was going to go far, just when you thought now Kefla was going to go far, it's like they end up getting wrung out so quick. And I feel like between the androids and Ribrianne, someone's got to go. And I feel like unless they want to save 17 to fight Dispo, Topo, to fight maybe attemptingly Jiren, I think that they're going to have to ring out 18, but something tells me in my gut that we're not going to see 17 for long. And I'm only making that prognostication because going into episode 118, Kefla actually does something. Kefla's fighters actually does something to where they cost somebody of, you know, an elimination from Universe 7. And if not Universe 2 being responsible, then I think Universe 4 is going to capitalize in the idea that, you know, Goku's weak. Goku's very tired right now. And everyone's pointed that out. Beerus pointed that out. Vegeta, Frieza, who hates him, everyone pointed out the fact that he's very low on stamina right now. And the only people that are protecting him, assumingly enough, right now are going to be the androids. And thus, I feel like if not one of them, somebody's going to go. So, like, going into episode 118 with this massive, shocking factor that's going to come about with Universe 4 having to step in and, you know, make the attempt to eliminate one of the Universe 7 fighters, who do you think is going to be? Like, who do you think that fight is going to be between 17 and 18? Or if, you know, nonetheless, some other fighter that we don't know about, perhaps Piccolo. What's your take on who you believe is going to be the next fighter to be rung out? Is it going to be, in fact, 18? Are they going to surprise us and throw out 17? Or perhaps Piccolo? Who do you think is going to be the next top-tier fighter to go? And just closing off 117, what are your final expectations for that episode in comparison to what we saw tonight?
Well, when you just said yourself that, you know, every time we're warming up to a character where we think a character is going to do fine, they end up getting eliminated. And honestly, I feel like that's what's happening with 17 right now, as you just said. So it is possible that 17 could be the next to go, just because we've had several teases of him fighting, and, you know, of course the excitement of wanting to see 17 back in Dragon Ball. So I think that it's possible they could throw that in there to where 17 would be the one to get eliminated. However, I feel like it would be a little bit better to get to see someone like Piccolo or Gohan go out, because we know if Piccolo goes out, that'll be a major trigger for Gohan,
right? And
that would kind of make him awaken a little bit more of his powers and get him back into the fighting game a bit better. And I feel like it would be the same had Gohan been the one eliminated and it'd be Piccolo still in. So I think the idea of Piccolo getting wrung out, I mean, I've said from the beginning Piccolo would get wrung out saving Gohan, so I think that would be something interesting to see come in the near future with Piccolo going out. But for 117 or 118 possibly, I think 17 would go out first.
Oh man, that would be, I think that would be a big letdown, because, I mean, we haven't seen much of him, and that's what I feel like really sucks, because I want to see more of 17. I want to see more of everyone else. I mean, what really irritates me, and we're going to talk about this briefly, is the abrupt stoppage of Vegeta and Toppo. It's done. Vegeta's going to do his own thing. Toppo's back with the squad. What did you think about that? Like, what did you think about Toppo and Vegeta having to just abruptly end? And what did you think about Goku and the way he just eliminated Kefla? Because that had to have been, I think, one of the sexiest Kamehamehas that I've ever seen, because he literally glided off of her blast and then he just shot her right in the face, no pun intended, and it broke the earrings and it separated them. It was insane. What did you think of Goku versus Kefla? And more notably enough, what did you think about Toppo and Vegeta? Because that really irritated me, and the idea that these are two characters that are portrayed to be very powerful for their own team, and it ends. So what's your take on both?
I think honestly, when they began the fight with Toppo and Vegeta, they didn't really know what they themselves, like the writers in general, wanted the outcome to be, and that the only way to make it to where they don't write themselves into a corner with the outcome was to make it stop. Honestly, I wish we would have seen that fight through, because it would have been so cool to see one of them completely like doing the other.
Right.
I thought that would have been amazing. But you know, it's very annoying that we had that interruption and we had that discontinued fight, because you know, we never get to see Vegeta finish his battles, or we never get to see Vegeta get the fights he's promised.
Right.
So I really feel like, on top of them always doing Vegeta wrong, we really never get to see him have battling screen time. So it's so annoying that every time we get teased at a battle with him, it gets cut short, or it doesn't end in the way that most of us want it to. So honestly, I'm very heavily annoyed that the fight with Toppo ended, especially ended like that, with not continuing, you know? Like, that really ticked me off, to say the least. Like, I do hope that at the very least, Vegeta gets to fight somebody, like really like bring somebody out and get to fight them again in the very near future. But it's annoying because the Toppo fight is something that I myself completely hyped up, because I was very excited to see even more of Toppo, and I didn't get to see that. So as a fan, I'm very disappointed about that. And yeah, so I really hope we get to see Toppo and Vegeta again, because I feel like that's not the fight anybody wanted.
I really don't think so. I really do believe that that fight's finished. I think that going forward, we're gonna get Toppo and Vegeta fighting other people. Because I mean, it sucks, because I mean, their characteristics for each other, like they matched, I think, like as fighters to you know, fight each other. I think that their personalities would have been great to see clash. But any final thoughts for Kefla and Goku? Because that was such a fun fight. That was such a good fight, in my opinion. I think that the way it worked out in everyone's favor, and seeing Kefla get wrung out and seeing Goku just dominate her. Like, what did you think about that, in your opinion?
You know, I said this earlier on the Discord, but I honestly, I have to say, I think this is quite possibly one of the best episodes so far for me out of the tournament. I don't know what it is. I just heavily enjoyed this episode so much, because it did not go how I expected it at all. I really thought that the Kefla fight was either going to get interrupted or was going to drag on. So honestly, to get to see it end off like that,
right,
and get to see UI Goku be literally so powerful that he knocked the fusion out of Kefla. That was honestly like one of the most amazing things I've seen thus far, and I really enjoyed how they played that one out, because I was not expecting that at all. I wanted to see more moves from the fused fighter. I wanted to see more of UI Goku and see how he gets a bit of a hang for being in Ultra Instinct. But honestly, the way they ended it, I was not expecting that, and I was so hyped to see like the earrings like shatter, to see her separate as she got knocked out. I think that had to have been the coolest thing to happen so far. And
no, it was
so
intense.
Hard.
It was very intense. I enjoyed the way like it was all structured. Animation was good. Music was even better. But I think going into next week's episode, I'm not sure if it might be better than this. In the aspect that I'm not really a fan of Universe 2. I never was. And I don't think they're gonna have anything major to provide, except with the fact that you know, Ribrianne's gonna have a transformation, which I think is gonna be a little weird, into seeing what she's going to turn into or what she does. But post your comments down below, guys. What are your overall thoughts and expectations going into episode 117? Do you guys think that the androids are gonna get eliminated? Do you guys think that Universe 2 fighters are gonna get wrung out? Post your comments down below, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. If you guys are new, punch that subscribe button, guys. If you guys enjoyed, leave a like down below. Check out Bubbles on Twitter and YouTube. I will leave a link to her channel and her Twitter down below, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. Tune back in for more, and we'll be seeing you all in the next video. Take it easy, everybody. Peace.